One of the primary missions at Kelley Uustal is to protect consumers from injuries by defective products. The attorneys fight for safer products, roads, and medical procedures. They fight for justice against big corporations and punish intentional wrongdoing by holding companies accountable. Time and time again, they have served the American people by winning these David versus Goliath battles against powerful and wealthy corporations.
Most of the time we are taking on most of the largest companies in the United States, and most of them are multinational companies. They have unlimited resources, and it can be long, protracted litigation.
The firm's case against Big Tobacco is a perfect example of just how laborious the litigation process can be. Plaintiff Cindy Noggle suffered severe injuries from years of smoking. She sought help from Kelley Uustal, and they provided the tools to take on the challenging case.
Very big opponent, the tobacco companies. They have unlimited resources, and the firm really did a good job in preparing her for the ordeal that she was going to have to go through mentally and physically.
They have a lot of might, they have a lot of resources, but when you get them into court, the jury is what levels the playing field for most Americans.
Through thorough discovery, the litigators were able to prove the deceptive practices of the tobacco industry. For years, tobacco companies hid the truth about the dangers of smoking and the internal documents that proved that they knew about the deadly effects of their products on human life.
And when you see those documents for the first time and you realize what these people are thinking and the calculations that they're making, it's shocking. Sure, the jury was angry and the jury was shocked when you see some of the documents, the internal documents from the tobacco companies, and they absolutely cannot defend them because the documents say what they say, and you see what the companies have been doing and thinking for decades in order to make money at the expense of people's lives and safety. Jurors get upset.
The jury's outrage was reflected in the record-setting $300 million verdict.
A tobacco company has been ordered to pay a huge amount in damages to a former Florida smoker.
A Fort Lauderdale woman is awarded $300 million in her lawsuit against cigarette manufacturer Philip Morris.
Now, it's Florida's largest tobacco verdict to date.
After all the proof of what they did wrong, they've never once said, okay, we should have to pay to this smoker this much, this penny, this dollar, nothing.
Despite the overwhelming evidence, the tobacco companies failed to take any responsibility for their actions. Instead, they appealed the case.
Some of these big companies, they'll appeal these cases to the United States Supreme Court if they can, just to tie people up in litigation for years.
However, the combined years of trial experience has prepared Kelley Uustal for the long fight in all of their cases.
Well, the longest trial that we had was the case against General Motors, which involved a family here in South Florida who had a tragic loss as a result of a fuel tank that exploded when they were rear-ended at a low speed up in Virginia. That trial lasted over 6 months.
This is all that's left of a 1983 Oldsmobile Cutlass station wagon. Everything but the steel frame was consumed, including 2 passengers, in a fire that reached 1,800 degrees in a matter of seconds.
One of those who died was a young boy, Shane McGee. Once again, the findings against this profitable automaker were astonishing.
One was what they did when they were designing the car, which was figure out how much it was worth for them to prevent fuel-fed fires and then not do anything about the problem they had in that car.
Using a government figure of $200,000 as the value of a human life, Ivy multiplied that by 500, his estimate of the number of fire deaths per year in GM cars, and calculated that it would be worth just $2.20 per each new car for General Motors to prevent a fuel-fed fire.
I didn't really believe that. You know, at first I thought it wasn't true. I mean, I thought there must be some explanation that, you know, people wouldn't really act like that. But it was true.
As a result, a jury ruled that General Motors had to pay out $60 million.
The cases that give me the most satisfaction are the cases where we have the opportunity to represent someone against a large company. And at the end of the day, if we can prove the case and prevail, which we have on many occasions, a lot of times the company will change the way it does things. For instance, in the General Motors case, they changed the way that they protect fuel tanks. And there were actually other changes made in the law as a result of that case. And so I think the cases that we do where they have a broad social impact, as a result of what happened to one person, their case can affect hundreds or thousands of other people. I think those are the cases that give us the most satisfaction.
It was also that they then lied and tried to cover it up, which was also hard for me to understand as a lawyer because their lawyers were involved in covering up what they did, and they were successful. They hid it for 15 years, and lots of other people who burned alive never got justice. The truth never came out in their cases. And it was finally after a long, long time that it finally came out in our case.